a previous video, while David Wood was practicing his best hobby of cutting and paste, as he used to trick and misguide his brainwashed Islam haters' view. Let's see what he said.
Here we simply need to start reading until we find an error, a mistake, a blunder. Oh, here's one. Step 1 doesn't take very long. In Surah 18, 83 through 86, we read, "And they ask you about Dhul Qarnayn." Dhul Qarnayn is supposedly Alexander the Great. "Say, I shall recite to you something of his story. Verily, we established him in the earth, and we gave him the means of everything. So he followed away, until when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a spring of black, muddy, or hot water, and he found near it a people." This passage seems to be saying that Alexander the Great traveled so far west, he found the place where the sun sets. Where does the sun set? It sets in a spring of muddy water.
Just let's see a few minutes ago of David Wood's speech to see if he was really following his advices.
Just when your Muslim friend thinks he's finally come up with an interpretation of the Quran that won't force him to commit intellectual or moral suicide, you go to the Hadith and the commentaries to see how Muhammad and his companions interpreted the passage.
Here David Wood advising us when we read any Quranic verse, we are supposed to go back to its commentaries, but the question here, why he didn't really try to return back to the commentary of this verse? The answer is very simple, because if he returned to any ancient Muslim scholar commentary on the verse, he would know that he is just lying and brainwashing his viewers. For example, if we return to the great ancient Muslim scholar, Ibn Kathir, on his well-known commentary on the Quran, part 16, we will find him saying on page 35,
"Until, when he reached the setting place of the sun," means, he followed a route until he reached the furthest point that could be reached, in the direction of the sun's setting, which is the west of the earth. As for the idea of his reaching the place in the sky where the sun sets, this is something impossible, and the tales told by storytellers that he traveled so far to the west that the sun set behind him are not true at all. Most of these stories come from the myths of the people of the book and the fabrications and lies of their heretics.
Here in the commentary we have many important points which totally destroying the false claims of David Wood. First, the scholar Ibn Kathir saying, the meaning of sun setting is the west of the earth, and it is 100% scientifically accurate expression, and even until our modern days. Such for example, if we return to Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, on the definition of the west direction, we read,
"West is the direction opposite that of the Earth's rotation on its axis, and is therefore the general direction towards which the sun sets. The
Quranic verse says, the sun set in murky water. Now we know, when we use these words, like sunrise and sunset, does the sun rise? Scientifically, sun does not rise. Neither does the sun set. We know scientifically the sun does not set at all. It is the rotation of the earth which gives rise to sunrise and sunset. But yet, you read in the everyday papers mentioning sunrise at 6 a.m., sunset at 7 p.m. Oh, the newspapers are wrong, unscientific. If I use the word disaster, oh, there's a disaster. Disaster means there's some calamity which has taken place. Literally, disaster means an evil star. So when I say this disaster, everyone knows what I mean is a calamity, not about the evil star. Dr. William Campbell and I know when a person who's mad, we call him a lunatic. Yes or no? At least I do, and I believe Dr. William Campbell also will be doing that. We call a person a lunatic. He's mad. What is the meaning of lunatic? It means struck by the moon. But that is how the language has evolved. Similarly, sunrise is actually, it is just a usage of word. And Allah has given the guidance for the human beings also. He uses so that we understand. So it is just sunrise, not that it is actually setting. not the sun is actually rising. So this explanation clearly gives us a clear picture that the verse of the Quran of Surah Kahf chapter 18 verse number 86 is not in contradiction with established science. That is the way how people speak.
Secondly, the scholar Ibn Kathir, saying that most of these stories come from the myths of the people of the book and the fabrications and lies of their heretics, and that is also 100% accurate, as if we return to the Bible, we would find it in many places telling us that the sun goeth down in many geographical places. Just let's check two examples.
Deuteronomy 11:30, are they not on the other side Jordan, by the way where the sun goeth down, in the land of the Canaanites, which dwell in the champaign over against Gilgal, beside the plains of Moreh? Judges 19:14, and they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin.
Is there a place where the sun sets? No. Could Alexander the Great have reached it? No. But the Quran says he did. But the Quran says he did. But the Quran says he did. Let's see if Muslim apologist Zakir Naik can help us understand what Allah really means in Surah 18:86. What's Allah really trying to say when he tells us that Dhul Qarnayn reached the place where the sun sets?
When we say sunset, sunset can be taken for time. If I say the sun sets at 7 p.m., I'm using it for time. If I say the sun sets in the west, it means I'm taking it for place. So here if you use the word Maghrib for time, so Zulkarnain not reached that place of sunset, use it at time. He reached at the time of sunset. The problem is solved.
Oh, so when Allah tells us that Alexander reached the place where the sun sets, he actually means that Alexander reached some unspecified place as the sun was setting. Now it makes sense. Apparently Allah just couldn't get the words right the first time around. That's why he sent Zakir Naik to make a few corrections. Thank you, Dr. Naik. Couldn't get the words right the first time around. Couldn't get the words right the first time around.
Now, let's see how David Wood misquoted Dr. Zakir, and took his words out of its context.
Point number 2. The Arabic word used is Maghrib. It can be used for time as well as place. When we say sunset, sunset can be taken for time. If I say the sun sets at 7 p.m., I'm using it for time. If I say the sun sets in the west, it means I'm taking it for place. So here if you use the word Maghrib for time, so Zulkarnain not reached that place of sunset, use it at time. He reached at the time of sunset. The problem is solved.
So here is the part that David would cut of his video, because it is clearly expose his lies.
The Arabic word used is Maghrib. The Arabic word used is Maghrib. The Arabic word used is Maghrib. It can be used for time as well as place. It can be used for time as well as place. It can be used for time as well as place.
So Dr. Zakir, explaining here the Arabic word that is used in the original Arabic text of the Quran, and it is 100% accurate, as if we return to the Arabic text of the Quran. We find that the Arabic word used and was translated to the setting of the sun is مغرب الشمس مغرب الشمس مغرب الشمس.
إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمئة ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا.
And as Dr. Zakir said, the Arabic word مغرب الشمس can be translated to the both meanings, place or time of the sunset, according to the Arabic rules, as we find in many Arabic dictionaries as A Dictionary of Modern Written Arabic, by Hans Weyer, and J. Milton Cowan. On page 783, we read Maghrib, place or time of sunset, west, Occident. Maghrib al-Shams, time of sunset. So that, in the Quranic verse, 1886, it was used the exact Arabic word with can be translated to the both meaning for time or place correctly, as Dr. Zakir explained, and not as David would try to deceive his viewers.
Apparently Allah just couldn't get the words right the first time around. That's why he sent Zakir Naik to make a few
The word
corrections.
used is maghrib. It can be used for time as well as place. When we say sunset, sunset can be taken for time. If I say the sun sets at 7 p.m., I'm using it for time. If I say the sun sets in the west, it means I'm taking it for place.